Welcome, everybody. My name is Serena Worthington, and I am the Director of U.S. and Global Collaborations here at SAGE. I'm really happy to have you all. I have a really great lineup for you today, and we're really excited that you are all here. SAGE is the nation's oldest and largest organization devoted to LGBT older adults. At any age, we have much to offer each other. That is why SAGE works to help connect LGBT people from all generations, creating bonds to make our communities stronger. Events like today's cross-generational event, Toasts to LGBT Champions, helps reduce stereotypes and ageism, increase our awareness of civil rights and LGBT history, and creates empathy and understanding across generations. As we build these connections, we strengthen our community ties, we find more ways to stand up for each other. And today we're going to celebrate these incredible champions from the LGBT community. To do that, we've invited people who know them well to offer up a toast. And just like in many real-life celebrations, we are putting our champions in the spotlight to receive the toast and to shine. As our LGBT elder pioneers have taught us, we refuse to be invisible and we refuse to be silent. To kick us off, we have a very special welcome from Lynn Faria, SAGE Executive Vice President.
Hi, my name is Lynn Faria, and I'm the Executive Vice President at SAGE, the world's largest and oldest organization dedicated to improving the lives of lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender older people and older people living with HIV. We are so glad you're with us tonight to celebrate our LGBT elders and older folks living with HIV. We will spend some time hearing from some amazing activists. These trailblazing pioneers have built on the foundation on which our activism today relies. From Stonewall to ACT UP, older members of our community have told us so much about the importance of participating in the political process, and they are still making change today as we continue to fight for LGBT rights. Their resilience and perseverance have taught us so much about what it means to fight for equality under the law. These are lessons that we can draw on today as we enter a renewed fight for racial justice and work to hold our government accountable in the fight against COVID-19. I have two important notes about this program today. Most of this event was recorded at last week's Democratic National Convention. Mayor Lori Lightfoot of Chicago was in attendance and was a special guest during the program, and you'll hear some references to her throughout. Tonight, we are thrilled to welcome a message from Senator Lisa Murkowski, who joined us for a screening of the Netflix film A Secret Love, which, side note, it's an amazing film and you should check it out. We are just so thrilled to be here tonight. Thank you for tuning in. And before I go, I have one question, which is, what is the most impactful way that we can honor the commitment and perseverance of LGBT older people? And the answer is to vote. Vote, make sure your friends vote, make sure your family votes, and make sure that you have a plan to vote. Request a mail-in ballot if that's an option, and if not, figure out a safe way to get to the polls. We're so glad you're here with us tonight. Thank you so much for being here and have a great time.
Hi, I'm Senator Lisa Murkowski from the great state of Alaska, and welcome to this virtual discussion. As we work to resolve many of the issues facing America's healthcare system, we must promote the inclusion of all seniors and work to increase access to care and services for their overall health and well-being. It's really shocking to know some of the health statistics that impact LGBTQ members of the aging community. Last year, I worked to advance the Inclusive Aging Act. This is a bill that aims to create and expand services to address sexual health care for older Americans and the diverse needs of older LGBTQ Americans. As a result of this effort, changes were made to the Older Americans Act, the reauthorization that was signed into law not too long ago, requiring that states and local departments undertake outreach to older people who need services in sexual health and LGBTQ services within their community. We also call for data collection on the needs of LGBTQ older Americans. This is an area that still needs more research and attention. Fact is that no one should face discrimination based on their sexual orientation or gender identity, including access to needed healthcare services. I hope your discussions today are enlightening. Take care.
Hi, everybody. Hi again. I'm delighted to have Mayor Lightfoot joining us today, along with First Lady Amy Eshelman. Lori E. Lightfoot is the 56th mayor of the city of Chicago. Her campaign for mayor centered around opportunity and equity for every Chicagoan, regardless of race, ethnicity, sexual orientation, economic status, or neighborhood. Before taking office, Mayor Lightfoot served as a senior equity partner in the Litigation and Conflict Resolution Group at Mayer Brown LLP. While at Mayer Brown, Mayor Lightfoot took on two critical tasks for the city of Chicago: chairing the Police Accountability Task Force and serving as president of the Chicago Police Board. Mayor Lightfoot is the youngest of four children born to Elijah and Ann Lightfoot of Massillon, Ohio. With the exception of a one-year clerkship on the Michigan Supreme Court in Detroit, Mayor Lightfoot has lived in Chicago since 1986. She and her spouse, Amy, live on the north side with their daughter, Vivian. She received a Bachelor of Arts degree from the University of Michigan and a JD from the University of the Chicago Law School. Please welcome Mayor Lightfoot.
Thank you so much, Serena, and thank you to SAGE. I am Lori Lightfoot, and I proudly serve as the first openly gay and first Black female mayor of the city of Chicago. And with me is my spouse, First Lady Amy Eshelman. What an honor it is to be here today in the presence of some of our pioneering organizers and leaders. You are truly legendary. And I, for one, am grateful to each and every one of the honorees today and to SAGE for fighting for us with the creation and coordination of programs and services and advocacy for older members of our community. Time does not permit me to enumerate the vital programs that SAGE provides, but it has expanded its programs and services over time. In part, it was due to the HIV/AIDS health crisis, and amazingly now we have an older generation who are fully living with AIDS, and that is in no small measure to the work and sacrifices of so many. With the high cost of the drugs and caregiving services, SAGE centers have helped thousands of people navigate the sometimes Byzantine systems to get coverage, drugs, and help in countless other ways. The legal help that we need, the help getting safe and affordable housing, and there's so much more. And above all, combating the isolation and strengthening our community, particularly for our elders. Now, there was a time when I was first coming out, and I was really focused on my own coming out journey. I wasn't thinking about a larger community and what I could do to contribute to it. But there was a point in time where I had that lightning bolt moment about the importance of our community, not just my own coming out journey, but of our community. And it hit me when I was at my first LGBTQ pride parade in New York City. And this was in the early 90s. And at that time, as you know, New York City was the epicenter of the HIV/AIDS crisis. And it spawned the gay men's health crisis and ACT UP. And the rage and resistance that I saw in New York City during that time was both electrifying and inspiring. And as the parade moved on, I was surrounded by mostly gay men who were chanting, "How many more have to die?" It gives me chills just to even call up that memory today. Their demands were clear and non-negotiable. Amidst the despair and the terror and the suffering, they were a beacon of hope. That we didn't have to accept the current status quo, and that we were simply going to watch our friends, our neighbors, our lovers, and our loved ones die. I heard and saw the movement, and I too was inspired. And frankly, I was never the same after that moment. It was truly a lightning bolt moment for me. Those organizers, like the late great Larry Kramer, who recently passed away, who refused to take no for an answer, who were furious and unashamed and unabashed and persistent in calling for funding, the research, the care, the drugs, the insurance, and calling attention to the crisis. They refused to accept anything less than their full rights as residents and citizens of our country. and they demanded that we recognize this larger community. These folks woke me up, and that pride parade changed my life forever. It made me believe that I could absolutely be part of this vital, thriving community, and I've never looked back. Sometimes we fail to recognize how important our elders and role models can be. As proof, we can live our authentic lives, and I love to reminisce about this. For me, there are many memories, but one in particular I'll share with you. It was in the early 1990s, and I got involved in, of course, a lesbian softball team. I met an older biracial couple. I was in my 20s at the time, and I think they were in their 60s. And I remember thinking, wow, they're a couple, they're proud, they're older, they're together. And I just had such tremendous respect for them. I was always curious about how they navigated the world and how they lived their life as a biracial lesbian couple. I marveled at them, and they were my friends. They had this grace about them, and they were clearly comfortable in their own skin even then. I think of them from time to time, and I wonder where they are. But the comfort that they had in living their life at a time when I was just coming out, and I dreamed of living a life so comfortably myself, having a spouse, and being loved and loving. They really set the tone for me. And as I grew into my political role, I was fortunate enough to have another very important role model and mentor. His name is Michael Bauer. Some of you may know him. My dear friend and advisor passed away shortly after I was elected. Michael was deeply involved in the imagining, the building, the fundraising for the institutions and political candidates that now serve the LGBTQ+ community across our country. He would surely be here today, nudging us to be smart, savvy, and principled in the pursuit of our goals and to enjoy life. If he were here today, we would surely be toasting my beloved friend, Michael Bauer. Today, we have a movement that is more inclusive, more savvy, which has built incredible organizations, sheltering our youth, providing emergency care, lobbying and supporting political campaigns and candidates. And now they come knocking on our door because they know that it's important that they pay homage to this great, vibrant, and diverse community. We've won lots of victories that were unimaginable just 30 years ago. And today I'm married with my beloved wife, and we're raising a daughter. We are living in the grace that has been provided to us by so many people in our movement for so long. And I have to believe that those that came before us, the generations that established SAGE and who refused to disappear, have paved a bright path that we are all able to travel down now. So let me be among you today. We're continuing to build our community and its institutions. Let us recognize our elders who have been building for decades to get us to where we are today. Our work is not over. We have many more challenges that we must face, particularly to make sure that our young people have the support and love that they need to continue to live their own authentic lives. But we certainly have a lot to celebrate in this time, and celebrate we should.
Thank you for coming. So now we're moving on to the moment where we're toasting champions, our LGBT elder champions. I'm really excited to be introducing this lineup of folks. Our first toast pair is Ed Miller and Elizabeth Coffey Williams. Ed is the Senior Program Coordinator at SAGE Philadelphia at the William Way LGBT Center, and Elizabeth Coffey Williams is an activist, actor, and star of John Waters films, an amazing person. Next up, we'll have Kim Hunt and Donald M. Bell from Chicago. Kim is the Executive Director of Pride Action Tank, a project of the AIDS Foundation Chicago, and she is also the Senior Policy Director at AIDS Foundation Chicago. Donald M. Bell is a native of Chicago's South Side. He's a member of Pride Action Tank and also a board member on the Village Chicago, which is a member-to-member network to provide friendship, engagement, and services for people over 50. He's also a spokesperson for Senior Voice, a project of Center on Halsted, home of SAGE Center on Halsted. Next up, we have Larry Scott Walker and Malcolm Reed. Larry Scott Walker is the Executive Director and Co-founder of Thrive SS, a support organization for people of color living with HIV. It's based in Atlanta. Malcolm Reed is a program manager at Thrive SS and founder of the Silver Lining Project, which are programs geared to assist Black gay men living with HIV over 50 to deal with aging, post-traumatic stress disorder, loss, and stigma while helping them train others and become engaged in political advocacy. And we'll close out our celebration and our toasts with Cole Faust and Ruthie Berman. Cole is the LGBTQ plus division manager at Metro Inclusive Health based in Tampa Bay, St. Pete. Metro Inclusive Health is the home of Sage Tampa Bay. And Ruthie Berman, Ruthie, along with her late spouse, Connie Kurtz, are the namesakes of the Ruthie and Connie LGBT Elder Americans Act, which was introduced in the House in 2017. Ruthie has been politically active since she came to identify as a lesbian after falling in love with Connie in the 70s. In 1988, Ruthie and Connie sued the New York City Board of Education because Kurtz was not entitled to receive the benefits Berman received as a guidance counselor at Sheepshead Bay High School. This lawsuit led to the city extending benefits to domestic partners in 1984. And Ruthie's been involved in SAGE since 1978. So I'm going to turn this to our first toast pairing. Ed and Elizabeth, over to you. We'll start with you, Ed.
Thank you, Serena. And hello, Mayor. I'm going to toast Elizabeth. I have some remarks for her. As one of the original Johns Hopkins group, Elizabeth completed her transition and gender confirmation 48 years ago in 1972. Unlike many of her peers who were urged to assimilate, she remained a defiantly out and proud trans woman. While married for many years and raising a son, she co-founded and facilitated the Chrysalis Gender Group in Rockford, Illinois. She served on the board of a performing arts organization as program director, producing over 60 concerts a year. She was a board member of the Rockford AIDS Care Network and a longtime buddy to a former ACT UP member living with HIV/AIDS. As a prominent art quilter, she has been a member and facilitator for the Names Project AIDS Memorial Quilt, and her work has been displayed nationally, including the Chicago Art Institute. Her story as an early, proudly out trans woman has been featured in many publications and several books over the years, most notably Sisters, a million publications, and her story has been featured with notable women, including Claretta Scott King and Chrissy Everett. Most recently, she was featured in Book of Pride, LGBT Heroes Who Changed the World, the Netflix documentary Disclosure, and has numerous videos by the I'm From Driftwood and Outwards projects on YouTube. As one of the John Waters Dreamlanders, Elizabeth appeared in many of Waters' films, including Pink Flamingos, where she performed her notoriously defiant flasher scene. A brave comedian and actor, she also appears in Waters' Female Trouble, Desperate Living, and Hairspray. Throughout her life, Elizabeth has never forgotten the importance of her roots and has a lifelong dedication to her large Irish family. She presently resides in Philadelphia at the John C. Anderson LGBT-friendly apartment community. Elizabeth finds time for her various artistic endeavors, co-facilitates the Transway Support Group at the William Way LGBT Community Center, helps conduct tours at the center, serves on the endorsement committee of the Liberty City LGBT Democratic Club, is a board member of the Dr. Magnus Hirschfeld Fund, and continues to lend her time and voice to trans LGBT elder issues and projects. She often laughs, "I've been standing up for almost 50 years and I have no intention of sitting down now. So please raise your glass to one of my dearest friends and life coach, Elizabeth Coffey Williams."
Thank you so much. I needed to have a drink now. Thank you for everything you said. Yes, there were many things that I did a very long time ago. In 1972, I had no clue that I was joining a movement. I I don't think one exists when I actually transitioned in the back seat of a car, took my jeans off, put a skirt on and said, I'm good. But as the years went on, I came to realize the needs and needs that I could potentially meet. And over that time, I have focused primarily in two areas, youth and elders, and more in elders as they dragged me kicking and screaming into that category. But yes, I live at the John C. Anderson Apartments. And even in the midst of the pandemic, maybe I'm still a little bit defiant. And I mask up and glove up. And with Ed's help and the help of a wonderful group of people, including the DMH Fund, we have provided both food and necessities for our residents during this extraordinarily difficult time. But it's just as important that we maintain some cohesiveness for our young ones, for my sisters, brothers, and others who are somewhere on the gender continuum and in need. So we are still conducting Transway via Zoom, not unlike what we're doing right now. And it's working. We're staying relevant. We are staying accessible. And for my entire life, I have felt that accessibility is the first step in understanding. So I have maintained that even though I have a lighthearted manner at times, even though I have been both revered and reviled at the same time for doing things like John Waters films, which were, yes, very defiant, but there's a message in that defiance. The message in that defiance is that rather than being the joke, I got to make the joke. I got to win. And with the extraordinary people that I share a home at John C. Anderson, and there are some extraordinary pioneers there, and with the beautiful people at William Way Community Center for the Transway group, it is just important that we maintain that inclusivity and that cohesiveness, because it's in that we all remember that even in our differences is where very frequently we can find our commonality. And for that, I'd like to say thank you to Serena, and thank you to Aaron. Thank you, Mayor and Madam First Lady. And Ed Miller, my dear, dear friend, someone that I work with, someone that I play with. Thank you. Here's to you. Here's to all of us. And here's to never sitting down.
Here's to that. Never sitting down, except right now where I'm sitting down. Thank you very much, Elizabeth. Let's move to my hometown of Chicago. I'm delighted to be welcoming Kim Hunt. My joke about Kim Hunt, which is only half a joke, is that I'm just going to base my entire life on following Kim Hunt around and doing whatever she asks me to do, because it's always amazing. And I also am really pleased to be welcoming Don Bell, who's been an amazing spokesperson for SAGE and just a dear person in my life. So Kim, come on up.
Thank you so much, Serena. That's funny. I live across the street from a fire station, so you may hear things. It is a pleasure to be here, and what an honor to be on the program with our mayor and first lady. Chicago is in a house, so that is always a great thing. LGBTQ aging issues have been important to me for a long time. When I was executive director of Affinity Community Services on the South Side of Chicago, or as we say, South Side, I helped found the Affinity Trailblazers, a peer-led affinity group focused on social and advocacy needs and desires of Black LGBT older adults. And since becoming executive director of Pride Action Tank, which is a project of AIDS Foundation Chicago, LGBT aging and older adults have been cornerstones of our work, leading to collaborative efforts to lift up the voices of and advocate for this group. Plus, I turned 58 this year and am a proud LGBT older adult myself. One of our champions is my friend and my mentor, Don Bell. I just adore Don. Don was actually essential to Affinity Community Services founding before my time there over 25 years ago. And I just want to point out that this is a Black lesbian organization that still exists 25 years later, probably the oldest in the country that focuses on this population. And as the constituents have aged, the programming has changed over time. And so the Affinity Trailblazers are quite unique in the country too. And Don is instrumental to that organization getting started simply by offering a resource such as Office Space way back in the day when he was at IIT. And we are deeply, deeply grateful for that, Don. Today, I get to work with Don through Pride Action Tank's Out Aging Committee, a fierce group of individuals. Serena is on that committee as well. And we are able to do lots of advocacy work, not just on behalf of LGBT older adults, but alongside LGBT older adults. But in addition to that, Don is a fierce advocate and speaker on behalf of LGBT older adults through other platforms and organizations as well. Don, you are truly, truly a champion, and today we salute you.
Thank you so much, Kim. I can't tell you how much I appreciate and am moved by that introduction. I don't know that guy, but I wish I did. Thank you all so much for this opportunity. First of all, I'd like to salute Chicago's First Family. I had the pleasure of campaigning for the mayor in both my communities, both the African American community in the Inglewood office and in my LGBT community in the office on Broadway. And I, like everyone, am delighted at her victory and at the quality of service that she has given us, her ability to speak to the issues and to speak truth to power, particularly at this time, to all levels of administration of the American government. We really appreciate her. I'd like to know, first of all, that I am 71 years old and as of Sunday, and I'm very glad to be 71 years old. I live on not only for myself, but hopefully in memory and in tribute to the many brothers and sisters who were lost along the way, not only to HIV/AIDS, but to the war, to gun violence, to drugs, so many things that negatively impact the LGBT community and communities of color. When I was born in 1949, like many of the members of the elder community, I am a child of the greatest generation, parents who survived both the Great Depression and the Second World War. And as such, in our time, things were very, very different. When I was coming up, members of the homosexual community, the homophile community, were first of all illegal throughout the country as a result of the gross indecency, laws that existed nationally and in the entire Anglo diaspora in the world. We were turned away from the face of God because in most houses of faith, we were thought to be inconsistent with the religious values of those houses. And we were listed in the DSM because our condition, our state, our personhood, our humanity was deemed to be sociological or mental health disease. With those kinds of issues and with the absence of any signs of LGBT anywhere, there were no parades, there were no flags, there were no organizations, there were no straight gay alliances in schools. With those things, we had to face the issue of defining ourselves and coming to realization of the fullness of our humanity and acceptance of ourselves so that we could endure. And those were tough times. But one of the things that happens in 71 years is that things can change. And the members of my generation who are still with us have seen, have lived through, and have witnessed the entire arc of the LGBT civil rights movement. And we're blessed to have done that. We've come from the times of no personhood to the times of full personhoods. We live here in the state of Illinois, in the county of Cook, and in the city of Chicago, in one of the rare places in the country still where LGBT people still enjoy full civil rights and human rights, and we're lucky for that. But we're going to press on to make that the national and the international standard for our people. Kim acknowledged that I have some experience in my past that are still very important to me and I'm very proud of. I was proud to be one of the founding allies of Affinity, and Affinity is an extraordinary organization, and it is because it's made up primarily of extraordinary people whose existence is underappreciated still, and that's African-American women. And one of the reasons why that's important to me is because in my youth also, I was a founding member of the nation's oldest pro-feminist men's movement organization, the National Organization for Men Against Sexism. And that has been a very important part of my life. But I'd also like to share with you my latest organization that I'm in on the ground floor of, and that's the AIDS Survivors Group here in Chicago. And it speaks to those of us of this generation who came through AIDS as our first pandemic. And we are using that to inform our survival and approach to the COVID pandemic. And that's very important. And the important thing to note about the AIDS Survivors Group is we see survivors as everyone who lived through that experience without regard to HIV status, sexual orientation, or gender identity. So it's a broad-based community open to all. So with that, I want to say thank you for this opportunity. Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Serena. Thank you to all of our allies of whatever generation. And thank you for including me today.
I'm really excited to bring up our next toasting duo, Larry Scott Walker and Malcolm Reed. Please welcome Larry to kick us off.
Greetings, everyone. Thank you for having me again, Serena. Greetings, Mayor and First Lady. I just wanted to, I'm ecstatic to be here in this space. I'm Larry Scott Walker. I'm the Executive Director and Co-Founder of Thrive Support Services. Thrive has the largest network of Black gay men living with HIV in the country. Founded in 2015 as a way to get us to aid us in having some sort of holistic support that centered our culture, centered our voice, centered our resiliency, and not just our disease state. And since the day one of the main supporters of this movement has been Malcolm Reed. In 2016, he actually approached me like, hey, Larry, you know, what about those of us that are aging with HIV? You know, where's the space for us? And, you know, at Thrive, if you know me as a leader in general and community, I'm like, hey, let's do it. So well, let's meet about it. Like, I can help you do that. And Malcolm took me up on that offer. He immediately started his network, and they began doing things that actually put the younger of us to shame, like jumping out of planes and getting on big roller coasters and things like that. And Malcolm's whole point was that he felt like that self-love and HIV acceptance that we extended to younger demographics, that we extended to people in their middle experiencing midlife, should be extended to those who are survivors, those thrivers who saw us through the early epidemic and see us through now. At Thrive, we prioritize and we celebrate our griots, griot being a West African storyteller, those teachers who keep us centered in our culture, centered in the purpose of why we're here, that never let us forget, hey, you came from somewhere. And if we ever are asleep too long, we can be taken back to that place. I am here to celebrate not only a person that I call my little brother in this space, because he was new to this space. In 2015, he came to me, 17, we were at a Kwanzaa celebration at my home. And he said, Larry, I want to get into the space. I want to do something. I want to advocate for my demographic. And I'm like, hey, let's do it. Let's do it. The next AIDS Watch, a couple months later, he was presenting from the main stage for AIDS Watch. He has committed himself to standing in the gap for people aging with HIV, those aging LGBT in our community. And he has done it every year. He represents Thrive on a national People Living with HIV caucus. Malcolm is tireless. I hope to have knees like him at the age of 60 so I can dip and spin to the latest house beats. Malcolm is not only my friend, he's my hero. He is my Oba. Oba is a West African term for chief, and that's what he is in my life. I look to him as not only a role model, but a possibility model. I cheers to you, my brother, and I love you dearly.
Cheers to you. I love you too, Larry. Thank you. Well, I don't know how I follow up that introduction, but I just want to say thank you for having me, Mayor Lightfoot, First Lady Eshleman, coming to you from Atlanta, where we also have a Black female mayor, and we're very proud of her as well. As Larry mentioned, my pedigree is not as long as many of the people, many of the heroes on this call, and I stand on all of your shoulders, and thank you all for what you've done. My story, however, is a little different. I was living my life. I was blessed. I have been with my now husband for 23 years, and I had a great job and never had any problems with health insurance, never had any problems with anything. I knew I was living with HIV, I was getting my medicine, and I was taking my medicine every day. And I said, you know what? Life is good. But then as I started meeting people and talking to people, I realized that there were guys my age that were going to, service organizations and not seeing anybody that looked like them. They didn't see, any Black older men. And a lot of them were sitting at home, maybe taking their pills, maybe not, maybe, saying that they were enjoying their life, maybe not. But that whole will to get out and be a part of life was starting to fade. And as I looked around and I saw that, I said, you know what, I've got to do something. And I don't know what I'm going to do. And as Larry said, when you come to Larry with an idea, he says, let's do it. And then he waits for you to do it. And I didn't know what to do. But I just said, all my life, through my career at AT&T, I've always been given challenges that said, let's do it. And I didn't know where to start, but I've always been able to get it started and get it moving. And so that's what I did. We put together a group, and with the help of some of my brothers in the Silver Lining Project, we got things moving. And yeah, there were stops and starts and all of that. But today we have 80 Black men living with HIV over the age of 50. We have weekly OBAs, what we call OBAs Roundtable, and Larry told you the meaning of OBAs. And I liken it to an old-fashioned 1970s rap session, right? We get together and we talk about anything. We talk about finances, retirement, sex, dating. We just want guys to be able to know that they are part of community, that even if they are thinking that they're no longer the cute guy at the end of the bar, there is somebody out there for them, and there is somebody out there interested in them. And we also have a curriculum that teaches about the things that happen to you as you're dealing with HIV while you're aging. We talk about PTSD and trauma, not just from a military perspective, but the PTSD that you felt growing up living with HIV, the loss that you feel, and then how we battle stigma. And we ended the program with stigma because we know that if we can defeat stigma, we can defeat all those other things. And so we do a photo shoot with the group. And if you go to our Facebook fan page, you'll see great pictures of us. And we do those photos and we let everybody know, yeah, we're here, we're older, we're Black, we're living with HIV, and we're not just living with HIV, we're thriving with HIV. And, you know, life is good. So last year on December 31st, I made the decision. I said, you know what? I like this. I retired from AT&T, and now I'm the full-time programs manager at Thrive. And I could not have made a better decision to spend the rest of my years. I'll be 63 next month, and I'm looking forward to, you know, just continuing. And like Larry said, the main thing I'm looking forward to is I want this COVID thing to be over, because I need to be on the dance floor, spinning and clubbing with some beautiful men, having a good time. So I want to say thank you all for having me. Serena, Joe, Aaron, the Sage family, Lynn, thank you all for having me. And Joe has been and Aaron have been a wonderful mentor for me on the policy side, as I am also representing Thrive on the HIV and Aging Policy and Action Coalition, HAPAC. So, you know, doing the work for the USPL HIV caucus, got to stay on the policy side to keep folks honest. But to me, the social and the mental side is just as important, and making sure the guys know that they have a place to go. So thank you very much. I'm so happy to be here. Thanks again.
Cheers to you, Malcolm.
Bravo.
Bravo. And thank you for that great introduction, Larry. All right. Okay, so next up, the wonderful and dear Cole Faust and Ruthie Berman. I'm really excited to be bringing them both forward for this toast. And I'm just really happy. I feel like I'm going to spend the next few minutes just really basking in some love. So please welcome Cole and Ruthie.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much to Sage for organizing such a special virtual event. I have to say, from all of the back-to-back webinars and video conferencing meetings that have taken place during the pandemic, this is one I've been most excited about. Again, my name's Cole Faust. I use he, him, his pronouns. I'm joining you from the beautiful city of St. Petersburg, Florida. And I work for a nonprofit organization called Metro Inclusive Health, where we provide comprehensive LGBTQ+ inclusive healthcare, counseling services, HIV prevention outreach, and community programming. So as the Tampa Bay area Sage affiliate, we've been able to serve hundreds of LGBTQ elders over the years. And in my role as the LGBTQ division manager, I've heard countless heartbreaking and sometimes uplifting stories from our Sage program participants. And those stories have only ever strengthened my commitment for advocating for LGBTQ aging issues. Our LGBTQ elders continue to come up against really great challenges, everything from rejection from family members in times of need to discrimination in healthcare. And, you know, as a young trans man, living in the wake of what feels like endless, senseless violence towards my community, the advancement of LGBTQ rights is always at the forefront of my mind. You know, between the murders of trans women of color and threats to trans healthcare access, it's always something I'm thinking about. And despite the long road that's ahead, I wake up every day feeling very grateful to the LGBTQ activists that came before me to create a world where I could thrive. And in the spirit of what this event is all about, I really want to uplift Ruthie Berman. Your relentless spirit has helped to create a world with less discrimination and more joy. When you and I met at the Sage National Day of Advocacy in DC, when we lobbied for change, you offered me a sense of comfort and motivation and courage that I still carry with me today, which, by the way, I'm convinced must be some kind of superpower that only lesbian Jewish grandmothers must have. Ruthie, you and Connie inspired and reached so many people through your efforts with PFLAG and in the 1994 lawsuit against the Board of Education for domestic partner benefits. Your monumental progress for the LGBTQ community had a ripple effect and encouraged people across the nation to continue to boldly speak out. I know that your efforts have come with great difficulties, estranged relationships, unimaginable leaps of faith, and I want to assure you that those difficulties, while unfair, have blossomed into something incredibly beautiful. Your story has given hope to LGBTQ young people all over, myself included. You're one of the most brilliant, powerful, dedicated, and loving women that I know. Your eyes tell a story of perseverance. You fought for what is right for decades and still manage an unwavering commitment to social justice. Meeting you is nothing short of a miracle for me in a world where it's extremely uncommon for LGBTQ young adults to have the chance to meaningfully connect with LGBTQ elders. My life has improved simply from you choosing to live out loud. My life is infinitely better through personally knowing you. I'm so fortunate to call you a comrade in the fight for equality and blessed to call you a friend. My commitment to you is to never settle in an unjust world, just as you and Connie refused to settle. Your love story is one that will continue to teach LGBTQ+ people for generations to come. I love you very much. And hope you know that if we were in person, you'd be getting a huge teary-eyed bear hug right now. Cheers to the trailblazer, Ruthie Berman.
So I saw that I had a choice here of so many people I could marry. Thank you, Cole. I love you. And yes, I am your grandmother. I think I'm almost everybody's grandmother in this room. I am an elder. I'm going to tell you my age because I'm proud of it. I'm 86 and a half.
Wonderful.
And I have certain words that set me off to continue to do what Connie, my beloved wife, and I have been doing for a long time. And that is stigma and silence equals death. And if I have a moment, all my energy comes from kindergarten. I was literally screwed by my kindergarten teacher, not what you're saying. And it was such an unjust way of behaving, and someday I may share it, but we don't have that much time, that my life became, when there was injustice, I was there. And so I remember the very first Sage, and the words are different. And I'm so glad it grew into what it is now. It is absolutely vital in the sense, and here's a sentence that's very important for me. No one shall be afraid because of their sexual orientation to go into a nursing home or to get health care or to be in a hospital or be examined by a proctologist they don't know, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So really, I can give you a list, and it's a list of, remember, 81 years, because it started in 5th grade, of my advocacy, not only for LGBT people, but for students as a guidance counselor of every color, shape, manner, form, money, no money, parents, not parents. It didn't matter to me who people were who needed me in some way. It also didn't matter if I went against the rules. It didn't matter if a little lie helped. It didn't matter. Connie and I were the now New York State lesbian rights chairs. I can go through a whole list of the things that we did. But basically what I do, my character today and has always been to be in their face. There is never a time whomever I am with, that I do not come out as a lesbian, as an old woman, and as a Jew. That's my forte. That is what I do. Whether it's in the pool at Century Village in West Palm Beach where I live and have a conversation, and as a matter of fact, even curse a little bit, that is my role. I don't need any kind of, what is it? A banner that says who I am. I tell you immediately, and I don't want you to get away with it. You're thinking, if it stinks, I'm going to perfume it for you so that you know what's right. I am very concerned about the youth today because they're not going to have a chance to come out and be with others unless they really know about a lesbian and gay community center like Compass that we have here in Lake Worth in Palm Beach County. They won't know about these things. You know, we are very lucky, and I'll tell you why. We've always had community. I see the men's baths as community. The outsides only see it at what went on there, but there was community that went on there. And the AIDS stuff would not have happened without the baths people being able to speak in private and say, we're going to do something about this and get what we deserve because we are citizens here and we do what's right. I had the fortune of a very dear friend do a documentary about Connie and I called Ruthie and Connie, Every Room in the House. That was all over the country. It was in South Africa, it was in France, it was England, it was all over. And what the opportunity we had was to meet you all over the United States, particularly. We did go to Germany as well. And what I know is how, aside from what we do for ourselves, everyone in my community works for the United States of America to make it a little better, a little richer, a little kinder, et cetera, et cetera. And I want to tell them out there, and I know this is going to be very difficult for this community, that all we need is one day, and I say this a lot, 3 hours during the day that meets Eastern time, Central time, and Pacific time as the same time. And we each decide to walk out of our homes, out of our jobs, and just say, here we are. We would close this country. Not the President of the United States, the LGBT community. And I hope you pass this on so that we vote and make sure that our community is taken care of. And that, I feel blessed that there's a bill in our name, the Ruthie and Connie LGBT Elders Law, that the Elders Law was in 1965. What are we waiting for? We deserve to be taken care of, not let our diapers be stinky and smelly in the hospital or by a daycare person who suddenly realizes who we are. We deserve to be taken care of specifically with our needs, with the HIV needs, with the medication, with the caring, etc. And let them know that we are going to vote. I appreciate, and because I'm 86, I can't remember everybody's name. Serena, Aaron, Cole, thank you for considering me at all to be here today, to have met my extraordinary community. Thank you, I love you, and I toast you. With water, so I'm hydrated.
Here's to you, Ruthie. Woohoo! All right, we're going to go back to gallery view for a moment and welcome all the folks who joined us today. what I'd love to do at the end, if you all have a glass or a little fake glass, we'll do gallery view for everybody who's here, and we'll do a final toast to all the folks who both toasted and were toasted today. You all are beautiful, beautiful people, and I'm so grateful that we had this time together. So we're gonna cancel the spotlight video and go to gallery view so we can all see each other. So grab a glass, everybody. You got something? You all have a minute? All right. So let's just go, just a toast. Just say a toast to us. Everybody ready? A toast.
A toast to
us.
L'chaim.
Yay. L'chaim, Prost.
Sláinte.
Sláinte. Thank you, everybody. This concludes a toast to champions of LGBT aging. I want to thank you all for being here. I want to thank Sasha Harrison for all your able work in the background. Thank you to Erin Tax for helping organize all of this. Thank you to Lynn for your wonderful remarks. And thank you to all of our champions and toasters. You all did great.